The massive observation ship drifted silently above Earth's orbital range, its metallic hull gleaming against the infinite darkness of space. Commander Rollick adjusted the viewing panel, his multiple sensory appendages twitching with a mixture of boredom and mild curiosity. Varen, the ship's primary intelligence analyst, projected holographic data streams across the central monitoring screen. Clusters of information flickered: planetary demographics, technological capabilities, resource distributions. Everything about the planet looked disappointingly ordinary. Another unremarkable carbon-based civilization, Varen muttered, his translation device converting his native language into a clinical, emotionless tone. Minimal technological development. No unified planetary defense systems. Primitive communication networks. Rollick leaned closer, studying the blue-green planet rotating slowly beneath their advanced scanning technology. Earth looked peaceful, almost vulnerable. Scattered human settlements dotted the landmasses, some dense with structures, others surprisingly empty and wild. The Galactic Collective had encountered hundreds of developing civilizations during their centuries of exploration. Most were predictable: they would either self-destruct through internal conflicts or remain trapped in their own technological limitations. This planet seemed no different. Scanning protocols began automatically. Massive data collectors swept across atmospheric layers, capturing everything from electromagnetic signals to microscopic environmental details. Satellites, communication networks, industrial zones, all were methodically analyzed and categorized. Varen's preliminary report generated quickly: planet classification, pre-interstellar. Technological progression, minimal. Potential threat level, 0. But something felt unusual. The human communication patterns were different. Unlike other developing civilizations they had encountered, these beings transmitted complex, multi-layered information constantly. Their digital networks seemed chaotic yet intricately connected. Military analysis suggested complete vulnerability. No planetary shields. Rudimentary space exploration limited to a single moon landing decades ago. Fragmented global societies constantly in conflict. Perfect conditions for potential resource acquisition. Recommendation? Rollick asked, his translator converting his native language into standard galactic communication protocols. Varen's response was immediate and clinical. Initial reconnaissance. Minimal engagement. Assess potential resource extraction zones. What they didn't realize was that every scan, every probing signal was being noticed. Not just noticed, but studied, analyzed, and prepared for. In a nondescript research facility buried deep within a mountain range, a team of scientists watched the alien scanning patterns with knowing smiles. They had been preparing for this moment for decades, though most of humanity remained blissfully unaware. Sung Park, the lead researcher, adjusted his monitoring equipment. His fingers moved with practiced precision, tracking the alien ship's every microscopic movement. Beside him, Jae Kim, a former military strategist, studied the incoming data with intense concentration. "They think we're weak," Jae whispered, a slight smile crossing his face. "They have no idea." The alien ship continued its silent observation, completely unaware that the defenseless planet below was anything but helpless. Humans had a remarkable talent for turning the unexpected into an advantage. Complex planetary defense systems were already being activated not through massive weapons or visible technological displays, but through intricate, interconnected networks that could adapt and respond faster than any traditional military strategy. Rollick remained unaware of the subtle preparations happening beneath the planet's surface. To the Galactic Collective, Earth was just another potential conquest. Another resource to be catalogued and potentially harvested. But planets are more than their surface appearances. And humans were about to prove that in the most unexpected way possible. As the observation ship continued its silent vigil, the first layers of humanity's true nature began to reveal themselves, not through aggressive displays, but through an intricate dance of technological potential and adaptive intelligence. The scan continued. The data collected. And somewhere on the planet's surface, humans watched and waited. They had been preparing for this moment far longer than any alien civilization could comprehend. The first reconnaissance drone entered Earth's atmosphere with calculated precision. Its advanced sensors swept across the landscape, collecting data points and mapping potential weak zones. What the alien technology didn't anticipate was how quickly humans would respond. At the underground research facility, Sung Park watched the incoming signals with laser-focused attention. His team had been monitoring extraterrestrial approaches for years, developing sophisticated response protocols that looked deceptively simple to an outside observer. "They're approaching Sector 7, J. Kim muttered, his fingers dancing across multiple communication interfaces. Within seconds, multiple global networks began subtly shifting, creating what appeared to be random communication interference. The alien drone's initial scan showed a planet that seemed chaotic and disconnected. Multiple communication networks that appeared fragmented, technological systems that looked primitive and inconsistent. But beneath this surface, something far more complex was happening. Local military installations, which seemed randomly distributed, began moving with unexpected coordination. Satellite systems that looked obsolete suddenly demonstrated remarkable adaptive capabilities. What the aliens saw as weakness was actually an intricate defensive mechanism. Yuna Lee, the aerospace engineer, smiled quietly. Her team had spent years developing response systems that would look completely accidental to an outside observer. Electromagnetic signatures were carefully modulated to appear random and unintentional. The reconnaissance drone continued its sweep, collecting data that would become increasingly confusing for its alien controllers. Communication networks seemed to shift and change, creating interference patterns that defied standard analysis protocols. In major cities, people continued their daily routines. Most remained unaware of the silent technological dance happening above their heads. Traffic moved. Businesses operated. Nothing seemed unusual. But every system was subtly adapting. Every network was preparing. The alien drone's initial report would be perplexing. Technological capabilities that seemed inconsistent. Communication networks that appeared chaotic but were actually highly sophisticated. Defensive systems that looked accidental but were meticulously planned. Rollick received the first transmission from the reconnaissance mission. The data streams were unusual, filled with inconsistencies and unexpected variables. Something about this planet was different from their previous planetary assessments. "Analyze again," he instructed Varen. "These readings make no logical sense." What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for potential extraterrestrial encounters for decades. Not through massive weapon systems or obvious defensive structures, but through adaptable, interconnected technologies that could respond faster than traditional military strategies. The reconnaissance drone continued its mission, unaware that every scan, every data point was being carefully monitored and manipulated. Humans were letting the aliens see exactly what they wanted them to see: a planet that appeared weak and disorganized. In reality, they were setting a trap. Sung Park watched the alien drone's movements, his team ready to implement multiple response scenarios. Each potential alien approach had been studied, analyzed, and prepared for with mathematical precision. The drone moved closer, its sensors collecting more detailed information. Industrial zones, communication networks, technological infrastructure, everything was being mapped and assessed. But the mapping was happening on human terms, not alien ones. J. Kim adjusted a series of communication relays, creating subtle interference patterns that would look completely natural to an outside observer. Their goal wasn't to show strength, but to demonstrate complexity and unpredictability. As the reconnaissance mission continued, the aliens would slowly realize that this planet was nothing like their initial assessments. Earth wasn't just another potential resource to be harvested. It was a living, breathing system of technological and biological adaptation. And they were about to discover just how dangerous a defenseless planet could be. The drone continued its silent mission, collecting data that would soon prove to be the most important reconnaissance report in the Galactic Collective's history. Humanity was waiting, watching, preparing. And the aliens had no idea what was coming. The first alien landing team materialized near a remote research facility in the mountains, their advanced camouflage technology making them nearly invisible. They believed their mission would be simple: collect samples, gather intelligence, assess potential resistance. They were wrong. Sung Park had been watching their approach for hours. The moment the alien team touched ground, a series of carefully designed responses began to activate. What looked like ordinary mountain terrain was actually a highly sophisticated technological trap. The aliens moved with calculated precision, their advanced scanning equipment sweeping the surrounding area. They expected minimal resistance. They expected an easy reconnaissance mission. Their first mistake was underestimating human ingenuity. Yuna Lee's team had prepared something special. The entire mountain research facility was built with multiple layers of adaptive technology. Communications systems that could shift frequencies faster than the aliens could track. Defensive mechanisms that looked like simple scientific equipment. As the alien team approached, the first unexpected event occurred. Their advanced communication systems began to experience strange interference. Random signal disruptions that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Jae Kim watched the monitoring screens, a slight smile crossing his face. Each alien movement was being tracked, analyzed, and responded to in milliseconds. What appeared to be random technological noise was actually a carefully designed defensive network. The aliens' first attempt to scan the facility produced nothing but confusion. Electronic signatures shifted. Communication channels twisted. What should have been a simple reconnaissance mission was turning into something far more complex. Their advanced sensors detected multiple potential entry points, but each pathway seemed to change the moment they approached. Solid walls appeared to have hidden passages. Communication networks twisted and redirected their signals. One of the alien team leaders tried to activate a standard capture protocol. The device simply stopped working. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just inactive. As if the very technology of the facility was actively resisting their attempts. Sung Park understood something the aliens didn't: human technology wasn't just about hardware and software. It was about adaptability. About turning the unexpected into an advantage. The mountain facility looked like a simple research center. In reality, it was a technological fortress designed to respond to multiple potential scenarios. Every system was interconnected. Every piece of equipment could become a defensive mechanism. Agricultural equipment nearby began to move in unusual patterns. Communication towers shifted their frequencies. What looked like random movements were actually carefully coordinated responses. The alien team found themselves surrounded by technology that seemed to have a mind of its own. Their advanced scanning equipment became increasingly ineffective. Communication systems began to break down. Jae Kim activated the next phase of their response. What appeared to be simple scientific equipment began to generate complex electromagnetic fields. Not as weapons. Not as direct attacks. But as adaptive defensive mechanisms that confused and disrupted alien technologies. Yuna Lee's engineering team had spent years preparing for this moment. They understood that resistance wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about creating complexity. About making the unknown more dangerous than the known. The aliens began to retreat. Their advanced technology suddenly seemed less impressive. Their capture mission was turning into a complete failure. Each step they took was anticipated. Each movement was already being countered. What they didn't realize was that this was just the beginning. Humans had been preparing for potential extraterrestrial encounters for decades. Not through massive weapon systems, but through adaptive, interconnected technologies that could respond faster than traditional military strategies. As the alien team disappeared, Sung Park knew the message was clear. Earth was not a planet to be taken lightly. Not a planet to be conquered. Not a planet that could be easily understood. They had just experienced unexpected resistance from a civilization they thought was primitive. And they would not be the last to make that mistake. The Galactic Collective's containment mission arrived with overwhelming technological superiority. Massive ships blocked Earth's orbital range, their weapon systems capable of destroying entire planetary networks in seconds. Commander Rollick believed this would be a simple operation: neutralize potential resistance and prepare for resource extraction. He was about to learn how wrong he could be. The first wave of alien attack concentrated on disrupting human communication networks. What they expected to be a simple shutdown became a nightmare of adaptive responses. Every system they targeted seemed to shift, redirect, and transform faster than their most advanced tracking technologies could manage. Sung Park watched the incoming attack with calm precision. His team had prepared for this moment through years of careful planning. What looked like simple research facilities were actually complex defensive networks disguised as ordinary infrastructure. Agricultural equipment suddenly became mobile weapon platforms. Communication towers transformed into sophisticated jamming systems. What the aliens saw as primitive technology was actually a complex, living technological ecosystem. Unili's engineering team had developed something extraordinary: systems that could convert everyday technology into adaptive defensive mechanisms. A simple farming drone could become an electromagnetic pulse generator. A communication satellite could redirect alien weapon systems. The aliens' first major attack came through a concentrated energy burst designed to disable planetary communication networks. Instead of creating a massive shutdown, the energy was absorbed, transformed, and redirected across multiple unexpected channels. J. Kim monitored the defensive responses, his fingers moving across multiple communication interfaces. Each alien attack was anticipated, studied, and countered before it could fully develop. Humans had turned technological adaptation into an art form. Commander Rollick watched in growing horror as his supposedly superior technological systems began to fail. The humans weren't just resisting, they were actively transforming the entire technological battlefield. Every weapon the collective used was being studied, understood, and neutralized within minutes. Industrial zones that looked like simple manufacturing centers became complex defensive networks. Transportation systems transformed into communication relay points. What appeared to be ordinary infrastructure was actually a living, breathing technological organism. The aliens discovered that human technology wasn't just about hardware. It was about adaptability. About turning the unexpected into an advantage. Their most advanced scanning systems became increasingly ineffective against a network that seemed to think and respond like a living creature. Sung Park understood something fundamental: resistance wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about creating complexity. About making the unknown more dangerous than the known. As the attack continued, human responses became increasingly sophisticated. Communication networks that seemed fragmented were actually highly coordinated defensive systems. What looked like random technological noise was a carefully designed response mechanism. The Galactic Collective's containment mission was quickly becoming a complete disaster. Their most advanced weapon systems were being neutralized, redirected, or simply transformed into something entirely unexpected. Unili's team had prepared for this moment through years of careful planning. They understood that technological resistance was about adaptation, not destruction. Each alien attack was an opportunity to learn, to understand, to transform. Commander Rollick received increasingly panicked reports. Their advanced tracking systems were becoming useless. Communication networks were breaking down. Weapon systems were being turned against themselves. Humans had transformed their entire planet into a complex, adaptive defensive mechanism. Not through massive weapons. Not through obvious technological displays. But through an interconnected network that could respond faster than any traditional military strategy. The breaking point came suddenly. The aliens realized they were no longer attacking a planet. They were fighting a living, thinking technological system that could adapt faster than they could plan. As their attack dissolved into complete chaos, one fundamental truth became clear: Earth was not a planet to be conquered. Earth was a planet that conquered. The Galactic Collective was about to learn a lesson they would never forget. Humanity was waiting. Watching. Preparing. And they were far from defenseless. The Galactic Collective's communication chambers fell silent. Commander Rollick stood before the High Council, his report a devastating admission of complete failure. Earth, a planet they had considered nothing more than a primitive outpost, had systematically dismantled their most advanced technological systems. They are not what we believed, Rollick explained, his translation device struggling to capture the complexity of human technological adaptation. This civilization is not just resistant. They are a living technological organism. The council members watched the recorded data streams in stunned silence. Entire attack formations had been neutralized without traditional defensive weapons. Communication networks transformed enemy technologies faster than they could be analyzed. What looked like simple infrastructure was actually a complex, adaptive defensive system. Varen, the primary intelligence analyst, compiled the final report. Each data point revealed something more terrifying than the last. Humans had turned their entire planetary infrastructure into a responsive, thinking technological network. Agricultural equipment became weapon platforms. Communication towers transformed into sophisticated jamming systems. The most shocking revelation was how quickly humans adapted. Every alien technological approach was studied, understood, and neutralized within minutes. They didn't just defend, they transformed the entire technological battlefield. Sung Park watched the alien retreat from a mountain research facility. His team had prepared for this moment through decades of careful planning. Jae Kim stood beside him, a quiet smile acknowledging their success. Yuna Lee continued monitoring the final stages of the alien withdrawal. The Galactic Collective's final transmission was chillingly simple: Earth classified as maximum threat zone. Do not approach. Do not engage. What humans had demonstrated was more than technological superiority. They had shown an unprecedented ability to turn the unexpected into an advantage. Their technological ecosystem was alive, constantly learning, adapting, transforming. Planetary defense wasn't about massive weapons or obvious technological displays. It was about creating a complex, interconnected network that could respond faster than any traditional military strategy. The aliens had underestimated something fundamental about human nature: the ability to transform limitations into opportunities. The capacity to turn seemingly simple technologies into sophisticated defensive mechanisms. Commander Rollick's final report highlighted a critical observation: humans didn't just resist invasion. They actively turned invasive technologies against themselves. Every alien weapon became a learning opportunity. Every attack was a chance to understand and adapt. The High Council marked Earth with the highest threat classification. Not as a potential enemy, but as a civilization that represented an entirely new form of technological existence. Humans had transformed their entire planet into a complex, adaptive defensive mechanism. Communication networks that seemed fragmented were actually highly coordinated systems. What looked like random technological noise was a carefully designed response network. Sung Park understood something the aliens never could: resistance wasn't about overwhelming force. It was about creating complexity. About making the unknown more dangerous than the known. As the alien fleet retreated, Earth continued its normal operations. Most humans remained unaware of how close they had come to a potential planetary invasion. How they had just demonstrated a technological resilience that would be remembered across galactic records. The final log entry in the Galactic Collective's database was brutally honest: humanity is not a species to be conquered. Humanity is a species that conquers. Jae Kim looked at Sung Park and Yuna Lee. No words were necessary. They had just protected their planet in the most unexpected way possible. Not through traditional warfare, but through technological adaptation that transformed every potential threat into an opportunity. The mountain research facility hummed with quiet success. Another layer of human potential had been revealed to the universe. Earth remained spinning in its orbit. Peaceful, unassuming, and more dangerous than any civilization could imagine.